Marty, we have a problem. The time travel car won't start.
Oh no! What can we do? What are we gonna do?
My chapped, bloody testicles, Marty.
What? You want me to lick them?
Yes, Marty. It's the only way to fix our time travel car. You have to lick my balls, Marty. The saliva needs to be warm and fresh. Morty, you gotta, come on. You gotta come with me.
What, Rick? What's going on?
I got a surprise for you,
It's the middle
Morty.
of the night. What are you talking about?
Come on, I got a surprise for you. Come on, hurry up. Gotta go.
Ow,
Gotta go.
ow,
Gotta get out
ow,
of here.
you're tugging me
Come on,
too
I got a
hard.
surprise for you, Morty.
With Season 4 of The Adventures of Doc and Marty set to air soon, I decided to revisit the first 3 seasons. I had already done rewatches of Season 1 and 2 several times, but I've been putting off rewatches ever since the disappointment that was Season 3, which is ultra depressing because I used to be a hardcore Rick and Morty fan. Back when Season 1 was airing, I was that annoying cuck who would constantly do impressions of Rick and Morty, and I would try to push it on my friends. At this time, I considered Justin Roiland some sort of fucking comedic genius with a truly unique vision, and when paired with the absolutely kino writing of Dan Harmon, they came together to make something really special. So how did I go from this super fan to someone who couldn't even bring themselves to rewatch a single episode for the past few years? Could it be I simply don't enjoy adult cartoons anymore? Well, no, I still adore other shows like BoJack Horseman and the ever underrated Venture Brothers. Could it be the insufferable pseudo-intellectual fanbase that has been the internet's favorite punching bag ever since the infamous Szechuan sauce incident?
What you're saying is that you don't have any Szechuan sauce. No Szechuan sauce.
Well, no, again, because I still adore other franchises with equally toxic fan bases, like Steven Universe. So what is it then? Well, I think it's the show that has changed. If we go all the way back to Season 1, I think a word to perfectly describe this show would be unique. With Justin Roiland's super fucked up art style and his weird voice acting, as well as the show's unapologetically improvised comedy. This really is Justin Roiland's weird vision grounded by Dan Harmon's skillful writing. And Season 1 is primarily a really fun sci-fi comedy with a nihilistic twist. Every episode introduces some new crazy concept, and the joke-a-minute style of comedy lands shockingly often. There aren't any episodes in this season I would say are outright terrible, except maybe Raising a Sorposaur. I feel like everything in this season, at least that is following just Rick and Morty, is really high quality stuff. But unfortunately, the other 3 members of the Smith family, especially Beth and Summer, are incredibly one-dimensional in this season. In Season 1, the few moments of character development that we do get feel heartfelt and organic. In Season 2, the show's identity starts to change. There's more of a focus put on an overarching plot, and the characters left underdeveloped from the last season are expanded upon. This season really wants you to become intimately familiar with these characters. But this is still primarily a fun, episodic sci-fi comedy. A lot of the show's most iconic and funny episodes come from this season. Then we come to Season 3, where the show's problems become really, really evident. Although Season 3 does start off incredibly well, the first episode might be one of my favorite in the entire series, even if it's not necessarily the funniest. It's super satisfying seeing Rick manipulate everyone around him to get exactly what he wants, and this episode also gives us a better understanding of each family member's dynamic with Rick. At the end of this episode, he seems completely unstoppable, but also a totally unlikable cunt. And that's Rick's thing, but in this season I feel like everyone is just hyper unlikable. The nihilistic identity of the show totally overtakes everything else in this season, especially the comedy. There are episodes where I can say I didn't laugh a single time watching them. This whole season is fucking plagued by this fake deep bullshit. It doesn't even feel like a comedy anymore. The show wants to be a deep dive into the fucking dark psyche of these characters. Really, it's turned into a wannabe BoJack Horseman, except without the writing skills to pull it off. We do this thing where characters will just tell you how they're feeling. This whole season treats the audience like they're fucking idiots. Really, I think this is just done to appeal to the show's newfound mainstream audience. The people who can't watch a cartoon without being able to be like, nah dude, it's so fucking deep, look at how dark this shit is. Like, fuck you dude, you're the problem with modern cartoons. We can't have an episode without one or two scenes to stop and be so deep, like, whoa man, this really gets your fucking noggin jogging, this really activates your fucking almonds. Like, this totally isn't a kid's cartoon, dude. Oh, dude, look at how fucking nihilistic we are. Oh, everything's horrible. Our characters are cunts. The show is now almost purely focusing on this instead of what me and so many others found unique and lovable about it in the first place. Now being a merchandising juggernaut for Adult Swim, one of the big problems with this season is the bizarre meme-ification of the show.
I'm Pickle Rick! I turned myself into a pickle, Morty! I'm Pickle Rick!
And the episode this originates from perfectly encapsulates all the problems with Season 3. First off, it's just not funny. It doesn't have the identity of Rick and Morty. We rely on cheap, violent shock humor. The I turned myself into a pickle bit's funny the first 2 times, but we repeated about 20 more. The characters act horribly towards each other. At the end we get this scene where this psychiatrist just runs down Rick and points out all of his character flaws for the audience. I think the biggest problem in this episode is the lack of subtlety. And this scene and most of the episode and season just comes off as really self-congratulating, unearned, and smug, like a fucking H-Bomber Guy video. But after rewatching all 3 seasons, I realized I do still really like this show. And the first 2 seasons especially are just bursting with potential. With season 4 fast approaching, I only hope we can return to the heights the show previously held. I want this comedy show to be able to make me laugh again. Hopefully we can have less of a focus on the overarching plot and just save that for the seasonally Citadel of Rick episode and a large-scale season finale or premiere. So until then,
Lick, lick, lick my balls!
like and subscribe.